Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Good Shabbos.
Chodesh Tov, and Happy Hanukkah. So, how many? Is there any other holidays that we could stack up on right now? Those are the Jewish holidays this evening, and so I'm really delighted that you're all here to celebrate Shabbat with us, to celebrate the new month of Tevet, and also the sixth night of Hanukkah with us here at PJTC. It's great that we have all these candles that help me keep count. But whether you're in the room or if you're out there on the Zoom or watching us in live streaming, snowed in someplace, we're extra grateful to have you here. You are in the right place. We're going to begin our Kabbalat Shabbat service, this initial service to not just jump right into our routine prayers, but in this special time of Shabbat coming from Sheshet Yamim Tavo, that the sixth. Every time it says you should rest, first it says you should work for 6 days. And so whatever kind of week you're coming from, maybe it's been a light week, maybe it's been a heavy week. In any case, we use the following songs and prayers to help lift us out of that space into the holiness of Shabbat. And we begin with a traditional song that's on page 13, I believe. Last time I checked, it was on 13 last week, so it's probably still there. Also, if you haven't been here before, we have these hardback prayer books that make a nice percussive sound if you catch the rhythm and you want to tap on that, or you can take advantage of these nice wooden drums that we put in front of you. But if you prefer a soft cover book that has some great transliterations in it, we have those back there as well. But for right now, we're going to go to page 13. There's a song that reminds us Shabbat is as if we are joined here on earth by angels. And this song, Shalom Aleichem, sets this intention that when Shabbat comes in and these angels come in, we welcome the angels. We invite them in. We ask them to bless us. And then when Shabbat is over, we see them on their way like honored guests. We have Shalom Aleichem on page 13. Please sing with us. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moachem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Come along with us. Tzedchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, forget to mention that this is a rather musical community. And so if you haven't been here before, if it's your first time in a while, you are more than encouraged to sing along with us. If you don't know the words, there's some songs, like that one part where we're just la la la. Everybody knows the words to that part. So if you can catch that, just jump in. Or if we're saying words and you want to say different words, that's cool too. But we really hope that we're not singing and making music instead of you. We were trying to kind of set an example, and I hope everybody feels free to join in that. And if you do, you'll have the absolute best experience of the service, I promise you. So, but I also promise you no Hank Williams tonight. I did that last week, and people kind of looked at me. So before we continue, even as we are raising our voices in song, we also like to increase the light in this space as Shabbat descends upon us. And you'll notice we have not only our Hanukkah lit, but also the Shabbat candles lit. However, the Shabbat candles have not had the appropriate blessing said near them. And so I'm going to call up, I'm going to ask Stephanie Ivler to come say the blessing on behalf of her mom, Sue Galpert's, can I say it? 95th birthday today. And so Stephanie's a good daughter. She's gonna do the stairs for her mom, and I'm gonna ask Karen to come join in with Stephanie.
Can we sing it? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitachanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel shalom.
Amen. Shabbat shalom and Yasher Koach. Well done. As I said before, this is our opportunity to climb out of whatever schmutz you might have been in this week. And our tradition gives us a ladder, a sulam. And what was interesting to me to learn, as much as I love Jewish music, is that the word sulam, which means ladder, is the same word that's used for musical scales. And so we ascend by means of the Psalms, beginning with the Psalm that starts L'chuna Rananan. It's on page 15. L'chuna Rananan, L'Adonai, Naria, Letzo Yishenu, Nekadma Fanav, Betodam, Bizmirot, Naria Lo. Let us sing to Adonai. Let us rejoice in our Creator. Ki Gadol, Gadol, Asher B'Yadav, Asher Lochem, Ki Hu Eloheinu V'Nachnu, Antakshem. Arbaim Shana Akut Bado Vaomar Amto Elevavhem Vehem Lo Yadu Derachai Asher Nishbati Be'api Im Yivum Emanuchati. Page 16. From the Psalms of David, we go to the poetry of the mystics of Svat, one of our newer songs, merely 500 years ago. They, in a moment of inspiration, dare I say, invented this service that we're doing right now. As one of my teachers, Rabbi Erwin Kula, said, every tradition that we have was once an innovation that made it. And 500 years ago, this service was a lot shorter. You would come here and you would say, well, I don't know here 500 years ago, but you get the idea. We've only been here for 100 years, or even newer. You would, your Friday night prayers, you would go right into the Baruch Hu. You would go right into the call to blessing, and you go to the statutory recitation of the Shema and the Amidah, and there was no warm-up. Friday night wasn't different from Thursday night or Wednesday night or Tuesday night, which is a shame. And they said, this is too good. This is too holy. We can't just welcome in Shabbat with the same old thing we did yesterday. We need to build up to it. Because Shabbat visiting, it's like when the queen comes to town, right? And this is a time of where monarchies were prevalent, and the queen was this transcendent personage, this distant being. They never came to town, but when she did, you really made a big deal out of it. And another one of the rabbis said, no. Well, maybe he took improv classes, and he said, yes, and it is also true that when Shabbat comes, it's like that feeling of standing under the chuppah, and you see on the other side of the crowd your beloved making her way toward you. And that is also true. There's the Shabbat feeling of transcendence, of we are lifted out of time, but also this feeling of intimacy, of closeness of our most beloved friends and family around us. And in either case, we say, L'cha dodi, come, my beloved, and welcome. And we're going to begin L'cha dodi on page 21. Page 21. לשבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה ביי, יאללה ביי, יאללה ביי, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלחם, כי מקום הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת נקבלה.
מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קוביצי מתוך ההפכה. רב לך שבט בעמך בכה, והוא יחמום עלייך חמלה. התנערי מעפר קומים, לבשי בידי תפארתך עמים. על יד בן ישי ותלקמי, פור בהם נפשי גאלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת לקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת נקבלה. אוהב הדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. אוהב הדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי. בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר על תירה, והיו נמשי סוף שועשייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך. יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמשוש הקן על כלה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
ימין ושמאל ואת אדוני תריצי, אל יריש בין פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה עולך
כדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. כדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובתולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה, הולך
אדוני לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
You may be seated. We conclude this part of our service with a psalm for Shabbat on page 23. It is good to acclaim Adonai, to sing your praise, exalted God, to affirm your love each morning and your faithfulness each night. Page 23. שמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני.
טוב להודות אדוני, טוב להודות אדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני, או להגיד בבוקר פסדה, להגיד בבוקר פסדה, ואמונתה בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות אדוני.
One more time.
טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר
לשמך עליון, טוב להודות Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Once again, also Chodesh Tov. We just began the month of Tevet, and oh yeah, Happy Hanukkah. You can't see it on the camera, but we've got Hanukkah candles up here. So I want to say just a few words about one of my favorite lessons in the Talmud, which is also one of my favorite lessons that I learned from another rabbi. And thought at some point in my rabbinical career, I would stop telling stories that start with this one time in rabbinical school, because that's kind of a rookie move. But there was this one time in rabbinical school that I'll tell you about in a moment. But the reason it comes to mind tonight is because the thing that this rabbi taught me is just intimately connected with several conversations that I've had recently. And, this time of year, many people who also follow the Gregorian calendar see it as the beginning of a new year. Now, I know we already did that like a few months ago with Rosh Hashanah, but also this time of year gives us pause to think about how we want the future time to be. And it's natural to observe it in this time, even though it's not Rosh Hashanah, because as of, I think, a couple of days ago, the days get longer. The year gets gradually brighter from its very darkest point. And so it's natural that we see this as an inflection point, not only in time, but in our own personal history. And that's why people feel compelled to make resolutions. And so I was talking to some people I know who have they're in various lines of work. One was a nutritionist, one was a personal trainer, another person was a dietitian. And each one of those conversations eventually came to the same conclusion. When I asked them, okay, when it comes to people doing better with their nutrition, what's the most important thing that they need to know before they get started? And it is start small. She's probably been around some people making New Year's resolutions where we think we're going to make these big changes in our lives and we're going to go all in. We're going to have a completely different diet. I'm going to go from 3,000 calories a day to 1,800 calories a day. Just me, okay. But when we have these goals, and especially, and I don't want to be gendered, but especially dudes do this. We're going to be like, all right, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it big, or we're not going to do it at all. And she says, start small, because if you try to make huge changes, they don't stick. Right. So just replace one carrot with a piece of broccoli, or replace one, serving of mashed potatoes with a serving of veg. Just like do small things and then add to those small things, and you're more likely to be successful. Well, that's fascinating. So then I started talking to a personal trainer, and he said, and it came to this conclusion: how do people make this work? And he said it slightly differently. He said, start small. He said, but he said, what you need to do is you need to dial it down before you dial out. And again, people take on these ambitious goals. They think they're going to completely transform their bodies. And so what do? They lift such heavy weights that they get injured immediately. And then they're out of the gym until the next New Year's resolution. And so he says, you take those weights and you dial it down so that you don't dial it out. And then I was talking to this woman who was a nutritionist, and not just any nutritionist. She focuses specifically on heart health, and specifically on men. And I thought that was curious. That was like really refined. Reminds me, I was teaching some Talmud to my Introduction to Judaism class, and Carol gets extra points for being here because she's in that class. So it's like, I didn't tell you were getting extra credit tonight. but there was a story in the Talmud, and there are lots of stories in the Talmud. But there was a story of people who just they went from the general to the specific, and they just made things until they were very refined. Till they got to the small parts. And I said, well, why are you being so specific to be a dietitian just for heart, just for cardiac health and just for men? And she says, because I lost my dad when he was 47 years old. And I said, please don't say the number 47. She's like, I lost my dad at that age because of his heart. And so now I've transformed my whole life around this mission of helping men have healthier hearts through what they eat. And so I said, well, I'm 47 years old. Where do I start? And she said, start small. And why I'm telling 3 stories in order to tell one is because it comes into this powerful lesson, not only on Hanukkah, but on leadership, and really on any change that you want to make in your life, if you are thinking of making changes in your life this time of year. And it's, once again, it was when I was a rabbinical student. Rabbi Claristenfeld was his name. And he lives out in kind of the West Hills area. He would daven at Shomrei Torah when I was an intern there, but he was also got like Flatbush Yeshiva background. And so he loved to take the new rabbis under his wing and teach us all the stuff that they don't tell you in rabbinical school. And he said, John, I know, if you're like any other rabbinical student I've ever met, man, you're going to go immediately in there and you're going to try to bench press 500 pounds. You're going to try to radically change everything because there's no zeal like the zeal of a freshly ordained person. And chances are you're going into a synagogue that doesn't have 500 pounds to lift. And they've been a community together for about 10 times as long as you've been alive. And so let me give you a piece of advice. It's from the Talmud, the second Shabbat, page 21, B-side, which I also taught to my intro class, about how to light the Hanukkah candles. And you may not know this, but when they started doing Hanukkah, they didn't have a rule book for how to light the Hanukkah candles. In fact, it turns out the rabbis were still debating this fact for hundreds of years after they started lighting Hanukkah candles. Well, they were probably doing oil, but they were like, okay, how do we light these? It's an 8-night thing, right? Involves lights. And do we light them all at once? And maybe do we light one light and light that light for forever, for the whole for the whole time? Do you light 8 lights for 8 nights? That's a bigger box of candles. And they said, no, but we should do a different number, just to keep the kids involved, keep them engaged, teach them math. We should light a different number every single night. And one rabbi said, who sort of gave his first opinion, a very well-reasoned opinion. His name was Shammai. You can look him up, very popular. And he said, what you have to do, and he, again, very logical, he said, this is an 8-day celebration. You know what else is an 8-day celebration? Is Sukkot. And Sukkot had been around long before Hanukkah. And they said, well, look, on Sukkot, the first day of Sukkot, you sacrifice 8 bulls. And on the second day of Sukkot, you sacrifice 7 bulls, and then 6, and then so on. But each day it diminishes in the number of sacrifices. And if you can imagine the candelabra in the temple, well, when you light that oil, even if it lasts 8 days, it's going to last brightest. It's going to light brightest on the first night, and it's going to gradually diminish. And so we should naturally, logically begin Hanukkah with 8 candles, and then 7, and then 6, and then so on. And all the rabbis said, well, that sounds very reasonable. Except this one guy who was always picking on Shammai, right? He always came and one-upped him. And His name was probably a very smart aleck. A lot of places on college campuses are named after him. So Hillel comes and says, no, I don't think we should do it that way. I think we should light one light the first night, 2 lights the second night, 3 lights the third night, and so on. And Hillel and his whole posse behind him said, interesting. What is your reason? Right? Thinking he would maybe relate it to another holiday, or he had some bit of Kabbalah that he had absorbed. And Hillel just said one sentence. Ma'alim b'kodesh ve'ein moridin. We increase in holiness and we do not decrease. And so for this reason, we should light 1 light and then 2 and then 3 and then 4. And I said, that's fascinating, Rabbi Claristenfeld, but what does that have to do with me and the Jewish world that I want to take by storm? He said, when you go to a new place, if you try to change it overnight, they'll change you faster. Not change as in transform, but like change as in like take your name off the parking space. You should meet people where they're at, right? And gradually you'll get as smart as they are and you'll be where they're at. And then together you will gradually increase in holiness. And if you don't do it right away, that's okay. According to Hillel's principle, a lateral move is good too. You just don't take a step backwards. And before you dismiss the idea of starting small with the big things you want to do, the big things you need to do, remember Hillel. Remember people who are trying to save their own lives and people are telling them how. Remember people who are coming into Jewish practice like the Intro to Judaism class, and they said, I don't want to keep Shabbat, it's too many rules. I don't want to keep kosher, it's too many rules. If I can't do it all perfectly the first time, why should I do it? And what do I say? Start small. And so my blessing for you on this Hanukkah is that as you go into a year of increasing light, and I'm not an astronomer, but that's pretty much guaranteed. And the wall in front of you seems too tall to jump over or too thick to break through. Start with 1 brick. Start with 1 step. Just keep going. And if you get stuck, that's okay. You have lots of friends here to be with you where you are. Don't back down, but always keep moving forward, and you will be surprised at the progress you make. And we learn that from the fact that from that argument 2,000 years ago, we are still lighting the candles like Hillel. So before I conclude with Shabbat Shalom, there's one more thing that I want to do. And I was debating, should I do this before my sermon or should I do this after my sermon? But I knew, and it doesn't always seem this way, but I knew what I was going to say. And so I remember the principle of Ma'alim b'kodesh ve'ein moridim. So I want to do the holiest thing in this moment last. So if you'll excuse me for one moment, I don't know if you can move the camera where I'm going, RJ, I'm just going right over here. If it's okay with Sue, I want you to just say a special blessing with you on your birthday. Can I get down where you are? Yep. Let's see, I'm not going to bend on one knee. You might get the wrong idea, so I'm just going to sit right here. And this is a common blessing for Friday nights, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And it's a blessing that usually goes from one generation to younger generations. But it's also appropriate for someone who has blessed our community for generations. Yivrechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you in everything that you do. Yeah, Adonai Panavilecha Vihuneka. May God illuminate your path with grace. Yisa Adonai Panavilecha Ve'isem Lecha Shalom. May God smile upon everything you do for a life of wholeness and peace. Happy birthday. See, we even lit candles for you. So Shabbat Shalom. And I will invite you all to join us in our call to blessing, the Baruch Hu, which is going to be on a page, and that page is going to be number 28. And it's our custom to rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vahen. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'yadov v'moravim u'mesaderim v'orayom v'layim mipnei or umavir yom umavir laila umavdil ben yom uvayin laila Adonai tzevot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimlok aleinu le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Amari Varavi. You may be seated if you wish. We continue with a blessing for the constancy of God's love, Ahavat Olam, on page 29. Page 29. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Am Hatam. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadetam. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, v'shovenu kumenu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nizmak b'divrei Toratecha, ובמצוותיך לעולם בהם. כי הם היינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. Vavatah tasil mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. And continue at your own pace if you wish in the middle of page 30. Page 30, we'll all get back together in just a moment. Shamayim al haaretz. We continue together on page 31 at the top. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Daber el bnei Yisrael, ve'amarta alehem, v'asu lehem tzitzit, al kanfei bigdehem ledorotam, v'nanu al tzitzit hakanaf batil techelet, v'haya lechem letzitzit, uritem oto, uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, v'asitem otam, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריכם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני Adonai Elohechem emet v'emunah kozeh. We bless God for illuminating our lives. We bless God for the constancy of God's love. On page 32, we bless God as a redeemer who answers us when we cry out. Page 32. Mi kamoka, Bailim Adonai, Mi kamoka, Neda Bakodesh Nora, Tehilo, Osefele, Mahutecha, Rauvanecha, Bokeyayam, Lifnei Moshe, Zeli, Anu ve'amru, Zeli, Anu ve'amru, Adonai Imlo, Leolam, Va'eh, Adonai Imlo, Leolam, Leolam, Va'eh. With us. ונאמן כי פרנה את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה, אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 33, it says, help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Page 32, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu צאצאנו, עלינו, לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. Baruch atah Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל וירושלים. Page 34. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם ועלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשם ברכו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושפחתה ונחמתה אירן ביעלמה v'meru. Amen. We rise for the Amidah for Shabbat evening on page 35b. Page 35b. This is a private Amidah, so you are invited to pray at your own pace and even in your own words. A couple of quick notes. If you are following the words from the tradition, there are special insertions both for Rosh Chodesh, which today is, and also Al Hanisim, a special insertion for Hanukkah in the Modim. And when you're finished with your prayers, you may be seated. We'll all get back together in just a little while. Say shalom b'roma. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru. Vimru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Al Kol Yisrael. We conclude the Amidah with Kaddish Shalem on page 48. Page 48. Yikra v'yikra shemei rabba, v'ama divra kirotei v'yamlik malchutei, b'chayichon v'yamechon v'chayitu beit Yisrael, b'agala uvizman kari v'imeru, Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, leolam olal me'almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yipar v'yitruman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'yimeru. Amen. Tikabal tzorhon v'arhon dekol Yisrael kodem avahon v'yishmai v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Val Kol Yisrael Val Kol Yoshvei Tevel Vaimeru. Amen. Ask you to please rise as we begin to end our service with Aleinu on page 51. Page 51. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol. V'tei kedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kagoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishvachot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kekol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlakim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu notei shemayim v'yoser haaretz, Moshe v'yikra b'shemayim ma'aretz. Yadonai shemayim ma'aretz, Pasadena. Al ken nekaveh lecha, Adonai Eloheinu. Yisrael kol derech. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Before we conclude the service, it's fitting to pause and remember with honor those who are no longer with us. Here at PJTC, this week we are marking the yard site, and that is the anniversaries of the passing of Steve Allen, Elza Blacker, Mary Booker, Gussie Brief, Nathan Chazen, Jonathan Ellis, Charles Feinsod, Samuel Fink, Muriel Frankel, Ruth Friedman, Jenny Gold, Harold Goldberg, Lois Tankel Handler, Charles Hirsch, John M. Hillelson, Dorothy Holland, Dan Label, Albert Levy, Margot Krimmert, Harold Lichterman, Andrew Frank, Martirosian, Bruce Mark, Maurice Melvin, Lyle Eastman Neal, Hannah Nissenbaum, Martin Rosenbaum, Kurt Rosenthal, Nathan Roth, Jose Ruiz, Josephine Constance Samuels, Philip Schwartz, Gene Silverman, Arthur Slifkin, Lieb Sloan, Julia Spielberg, Gerald Surface, Cheryl Tolley, Gertrude Tornek, Jerome Jules Weisman, Rose Waprinski, Sam Winograd, Marcus Woolman, and Ralph Wolvik. There's another name that you'd like to lift up in honor at this time. Please say that name out loud wherever you are. Hold the name in your heart. If you're in mourning for anyone or marking a yard site, please rise as we say the Kaddish Tome, the mourner's Kaddish, with you. We're on page 52, page 52. Let's pray together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divra kirute b'amlik malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach leolam olalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brihu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Now I'll ask everyone to rise, please. We move from kavod to simcha, from honor to joy as we close this service the way we began it, and that's with a beautiful song, and I hope you'll join us, and then stick around for a wonderful Kiddush, which I'll say more about in a minute.
Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu, Oyevo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom.
Good Shabbos, everybody. Happy Hanukkah and Chodesh Tov. I hope you'll stick around for Kiddush. Let's see, I believe back there, before I say, as people are making their way back there, if you want to grab a cup of wine or a cup of juice, I hope they're labeled carefully. You'll see some beautiful, beautiful pictures. And Stephanie has prepared the Oneg Shabbat this evening in honor of Sue Galpert's birthday. I was going to use the number again, but you probably heard it. You're good. So it's wonderful. So happy birthday, Sue. Thank you all for being here to celebrate with us. And go grab a cup of something to celebrate with. If you're at home, go grab a cup of whatever you celebrate with and meet us right back here for Kiddush. So now we can put up announcements while we're waiting for people to get their juice. All right, if you haven't gotten your wine or your juice yet, it's okay. Go ahead and get it. This is a very long prayer, and you'll have it by the time we're done. בערב ויבוקר יום השישי, ויהולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויהל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'avav ratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikrei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinhaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabat. Right, those at home who wish to wash as you wish. I'll make a little netilat yadayim on behalf of everybody here before we break bread. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu on netilat yadayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. It's no latke, but it will do. Hagorim Sameach, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom. I will join you in glorious Sufganiyot in a minute. Thank you, Allie, for your help tonight. And thank you, Matt, and thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Stephanie. And Jan, just thank you all the time. Thank you.